Hey, welcome to the first episode of The Rhythm Guys. I'm Sam Montooth. This is Isaac Sanchez. Ron Kobayashi.
Hello.
We're rhythm section players, and we're here to help you learn how to be better rhythm section guys. And we're going to show you what we know. Today's episode is going to be about the role of the rhythm section. So we're going to teach you what that is. If you're new to it, what's your job? We're going to answer those questions, hopefully, in just a little bit. But before we get to that, we have a couple messages for you. We'll be right back. Come see the Rhythm Guys live at the Studio 770 Open Mic in Brea, California on Tuesday, September 11th from 7 to 10 p.m. Details can be found at the link on your screen. You can get 50% off the door fee by using the promo code TRGSeptember. Okay, so we're back. So today's main topic is the role of the rhythm section. What is it? What does it do? For context, we're mostly jazz guys here. We're jazz musicians, so we're going to come from the premise that a rhythm section belongs with a big band in many cases. But that's not always the case. Rhythm sections are pretty much integral to every style of music. Sometimes the instrumentation varies, but we're all kind of doing the same thing. There's usually some sort of percussion guy. Mm-hmm. There's usually some sort of harmonic person, a harmony guy, and there's usually a bass line of some type. So those three factors are kind of where we're coming from. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. What do you do? If you're a bass player, what do you do? What's your job? How do you do what you do? So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to start with just throwing out the first thing is that our main job is to support somebody. Our main job is to support whatever performer we're working with, whether it's a singer, a big band, a Latin band, an orchestra sometimes. It could be any of those things, but our main job is support. And I'm going to let you guys help me elaborate on this.
Well, one thing on the drums, it's just key. Sometimes it's obvious because, time is a responsibility for everyone. But, tend to look at the drummer. So as drummers, we need to be sure that we're providing that support. The foundation is good timekeeping. And that requires a lot of practice because in jazz, you can have some all styles, but with jazz, you can have some incredibly quick tempos, and you got to work up to those. And you can have some very slow tempos, and you'd be surprised.
The hardest to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you can't play slow, you can't play.
That's exactly. And you as a drummer, I can really screw that up if and make the instrumentalist or the singer up front very nervous that they can't depend on me. So it becomes crucial, the role as a drummer is providing consistent time. And the other thing is having in your bag some tricks, mallets, brushes, sticks of different sizes. You never know what they're going to turn around and call out. And you need to be able to make that singer feel that if they're or instrumentalist something beautiful and soupy, that you have the wire brushes and not your blast sticks or your hot rods. They're going to want to hear wire brushes possibly. So that's part of good timekeeping and have a little bag of tricks, hopefully to give them the flavors that they want up front.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ron?
And keyboard-wise, just like with percussion, needing to have various or access to and ability to play various things within the percussion world, keyboard players not only should know how to play piano, which is kind of, I think, the main axe, but to be able to play electric keyboards, potentially even a Hammond organ or a clavinet. So there are many, many keyboards, and now with modern technology, many, many sounds you can get off of synthesizers. And be aware of how to basically, control and play on a keyboard as opposed to just a piano. I'm a pianist myself, first and foremost, so I don't ever, pretend to be the greatest keyboard player, but I do know what I need to know just so that in the event I'm in a situation where they call for an electronic keyboard, I can get around that, basically. So please, verse yourself in that. And I want to reiterate the importance of being accompanists, of being the support for the big band or support for the vocalist or support for the instrumental soloist or whoever it is. We are the support, and therefore please be aware of not overplaying. I think that's the
exactly
number
what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Sam.
No, take it.
But it's the number one sin, I think, of young musicians of thinking they can throw everything, including the kitchen sink, into the
Every
group.
lick they've
Everything they've ever learned into that group, and that's not your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to be accompanist and to accompany whomever you're accompanying. So play about a half of what you intend to play, and I think
Right.
Let me say this about that, because that can happen for some really dumb reasons.
Right.
Girlfriend, boyfriends out in the audience. Mom came to the gig, right? Another drummer's out there
Right.
watching.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see them at a
Right.
periphery.
Right.
I mean, it could be as dumb as that.
Yeah.
Stay away from that, please.
Right.
Because I promise you, for any of us, but in the drummer position, boy,
Yeah.
the best thing you can do is provide that support with the right little toys I mentioned about earlier, and just keep it there. And not fall for that craziness, But you can do it for other reasons too, where you just practice, learn something off of YouTube, and then you got to try it at the next gig,
Right.
and it's the wrong gig, but you're going to try it nonetheless.
You're going to play the same McCoy Tyner solo no matter what song you're playing. Yeah, don't do that.
Don't
That's
do
a bad
that.
idea.
Yeah.
So as far as a bass player goes, it's the same thing. Generally stay out of everyone's way. You may have some of the hippest stuff that you want to play, but that's not your job if you're playing in a big band. You're going to be playing a lot of quarter notes if you're a bass player, especially in a big band setting. And you want to keep it simple and clear, concise. Don't throw in too much stuff, because your job isn't to be noticed as a bass player in that big band.
Yeah.
Your job is
Good
just
point.
to be felt.
Yeah.
And like you are tied with the bass drum foot. Like you are the same thing as that. Boom, 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 boom. If you start putting in fills that aren't supposed to be there, you can throw up whatever the composer or arranger came up with. I know a lot of the times I'll see younger bass players who are struggling to play every single note on the chart. That's not always the best thing to do. Sometimes make it simpler than what that guy wrote. I mean, no offense to arrangers, but sometimes the bass player doesn't need to be so out front. We're really supposed to be supporting and providing a harmonic structure, because we're the bottom end. We actually dictate what that chord is. Whatever he plays, I can change it by changing a note. So you have to be harmonically aware of what you're playing, so you can support what's going on above you. So don't get too creative with, you don't do a tritone substitution if you're playing in a big band. You play what's on the page, because it's written specifically for you. So it's really a supportive role. Do what's being expected of you, and like you said, don't play every lick. If you're electric bass player, same thing. It may call for an electric bass chart, and it may have a slap line, and it may have a specific lick. But unless it says "go crazy" on your part, don't go crazy. Just play a line, have a good groove. But don't get out of control, because that's not your job unless it's a solo. And the solo, all bets are off. You can do whatever you want. But it's really about support. And I think that's a really good place. That's why it was important that we started with this concept, because I think our goal for this series is to give you those tips and kind of that experience that we've had of doing this for collectively a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to let people know, like, okay, this is what we've learned so far, and not to step on your own toes. And I know a lot of young musicians or older people who are young musicians are trying to figure out how to do that with less and less opportunity to learn these things. I know a lot of kids don't have a place to play anymore, and they're getting into jazz, but they don't know where it is, and when they finally get out there to play, they don't have the experience. So we're going to try and help you shortcut that. Do what we can.
Can I mention just one thing real briefly? I think it's also important for the rhythm section to have visual contact with each other.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So
Super
that
important.
when you're on stage, or even in the studio, here at Studio 770, I can see Sam and I can see Isaac, and I'm kind of the
He's the
middle
point man, because
absolutely.
in this studio we can't see each other.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see it later. We'll give you a tour later on, but it's very important. Visual sight lines,
especially
are so
when you're on
important.
stage in a live situation, to see the little visual cues that we're giving each other, so that we can play together as a unit, and that is so important, to be a unit, not a drummer and a bass player and a pianist, but a rhythm section as a unit, a single entity.
Yep. Yeah, we have to think alike at the same time.
And you got me thinking about, in terms of kind of ways of going about this, just kind of taking back to my high school days. If you're fortunate enough to be able to be playing first of all, to learn any of this stuff, you have to be playing. Find people to play with. But if you're in jazz band at your school, get those sectionals, just the 3. There's nowhere to hide when you're in the trio. Once the whole band is there and that, we're on a double forte or something, you sneak away with some craziness. But once it's just the trio, that's the best thing you can do because you're not going to hide anywhere. That brushwork's going to be exposed. Your time's going to be exposed. And also, as we all do, we know this is just whether it's your phone or if you have something more elaborate than that, but record those rhythm section rehearsals. And then the only other thing I would add is listen. Just listen to go to YouTube, Spotify, whatever, and listen. Put your cans on, not just your earbuds are fine too, but not just off of your laptop or whatever, or your phone. Get those earbuds in and listen to those. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like you can feel like especially those old jazz recordings, just trios, you can hear the breath coming out of the horn. I mean, it feels like you're sitting right there.
Yeah,
so do that. That'd be very important.
These, while very, very popular, stink. Get yourself some good headphones. Listen to jazz with good headphones. It will change your life.
Amazing what you hear.
Yeah, there's stuff that you can hear. I remember the first time I actually listened to Kinda Blue with headphones, real headphones, at full volume with a CD. So it was high resolution, and you could hear everything. It was like, oh my gosh, there's stuff I've never heard before. Yeah. I could hear the bass for real. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you miss. MP3s cut out a lot. We're so used to hearing less than that. But yeah, headphones are super important. Yeah. Being able to listen is a super big deal. I wanted to point out one thing that my wife actually mentioned to me when I was talking about this episode with her. She goes, the rhythm section is really a band within a band.
Yeah, true.
And that connection of the 3 of us creating a unit is really we're the band that the rest of the group sits on top of. Yeah. But we really have to be on fire or nothing else works. And part of the reason we're doing this is because we've noticed that younger bands, especially in schools, sometimes the instructors aren't as comfortable with rhythm section players. And so sometimes they get left behind. And unfortunately, they're the most, not to toot our own horns, but we're kind of the most important part of the band. Because if this doesn't work, it doesn't matter how good your horn players are because they have no place to work.
Sam, I wanted to pick up on what you're talking about having more than just the core rhythm section, piano, bass, and drums. And if you have, for instance, a guitarist and a pianist, which many high school bands have, please be aware of not comping over each other. So to either take turns comping, or if the guitarist is comping heavily, then the pianist should comp very sparsely, and vice versa. Again, I want to reiterate, we as a rhythm section are the accompaniment for the band or the vocalist and whoever. We are providing the foundation. So if we're busy over-comping with 2 folks in the rhythm section comping chords busily, then you're taking away from the band as a whole, and you're now not serving the rhythm section well because you're now not accompanying. You're becoming soloists. So please be aware of that. Guitarists and pianists, when you're looking at a chart, kind of decide who's going to comp more, who's going to comp less. Maybe at sometimes the guitarist can just lay out on a chorus.
Take a break.
And then pianists come back in on the verse. But please
something we never get.
That's right.
Yeah, right. You're always working.
We're always playing. Take advantage. Okay, well, I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of laying out the foundation for what our gig is.
Absolutely. If I would just add, if there's anything in this discussion, I'm sure you're probably going to say this later on, but that you think we've missed, or something you want to add, or a question you have that you think, hey, you guys talked about, but you didn't have this one question or whatever, please, we'll let you know how to contact us towards the end. But after a discussion like this, if there's something you think we missed, you want to know more about, or you want to add to. I'm sure we have a wide audience out there of young players and more advanced players, so we'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Absolutely. True. All right, we'll be right back in just a little bit with our picks of the week. Okay, we're back. At this part of our episode, we're going to give you our picks of the week. And we're going to do this with every episode, where we're going to each have a pick that generally is related to our main topic, but it's just something that we think is something you should know about as a musician or as a rhythm section player that will help you with your playing. We're going to go first with Isaac's going to go with his first pick, and then Ron, and then myself.
Okay.
And here you go. What's your pick of the week?
Great. My pick is a book called The Big Gig, Big Picture Thinking for Success by Zorro.
By Zorro? Like Zorro? Yes!
Listen,
I didn't know he was a musician, too. I love him even more.
You, every great superhero is a drummer.
That's great.
So look him up. Zorro has got an interesting backstory, and he's moved himself into like a motivational speaker now with musicians and others, but he's got a wonderful history of musicianship, and I bet you once you see his picture, you can say, that's him. He's always wearing a hat and a scarf. Oh my goodness. So now this book, let me just say this about the book. I pick up the book after buying a play along that I was using for my drumming, practicing different styles that he put out on R&B drumming. But then I found out about the book. He does a great job of walking musicians through the idea that if you're looking for longevity in the music industry, there's certain things you have to do. It just doesn't happen now. We know that, and whether it's how to do an audition or how to learn certain styles or how to approach an artist or how to lift your social media profile and get out there more. He knows his stuff. And so I highly encourage you to get the book, and I'm not a reader, be a reader then, because you want to read this book and read it in chunks. But it's kind of cool because every subheading of chapters he uses the title of a song,
cool.
And then it relates to what's going on. But he's got great information on there, and particularly if you're in the younger part or you're an artist or just not just for drummers, musicians, check that out. I think you're going to like that a lot. I love the book.
Cool.
Ron.
My pick is any metronome app on I have an Android, so on Google Store or Mac, but to get in your phone a metronome that you can practice with for bassists, any rhythm section player, drummers, obviously, pianists, musician. And the reason for that is everybody has to have good time. Yeah. It's stereotyped through the ages that the drums play the time and everybody else plays to the drummer, and that's just not true.
Everybody knows they're playing with the bass player.
Everybody, yeah, right. Everybody has to have good time, including pianists who are just stabbing at chords. Because if you don't know where one is, you're not going to place the chords correctly. So I really highly recommend that you get a metronome, just any one of the simple ones, and use it to practice with. Now that's for every musician in the rhythm section, and I'd venture to say even the horn players and the vocalists and everybody else that wants to be good groovers, but especially the rhythm section is super important.
Yeah, true.
All right.
My pick is just is an app that most of the musicians I play with now have a copy of, no matter what. It's just called the iReal Pro app. It's basically if you haven't heard of it, it's just an aggregator of chord charts. So it doesn't have melodies or anything, but it has chord symbols. And the great part is it's a great practice tool because it has a built-in rhythm section. Mm-hmm. So if you're a singer and you want to practice a tune, you have a rhythm section to work with. If you are a rhythm section member, it has a fader, so you can remove your part and then play with a drummer and a pianist. So if you're a bass player, you take out the bass player and you can be the bass player and have someone comping with you. And it's not amazing playing, but it's good enough and you're going to hear the changes. It's a great way to learn tunes. It's a great way to play things in all keys. But it teaches you how to play with somebody who has perfect time because it's a machine. So it's getting used to where you fit in a rhythm section, so everyone can take their part in it and kind of get used to that. So it's a great tool. It doesn't matter what it costs. You need it. But I think right now it's going for $10 on the iOS App Store. There's a Mac App Store version, which I think is $10 as well. It's worth every penny. I use it constantly. And it's a great teaching tool. I use it with students as well. So if you're an educator, it's It's a great tool for your students to have. You can create playlists for your students, and they can practice along. Everything is transposable, so any tune you learn, you can practice it in any key. You can even change up styles, meters, whatever. You can do everything, but specifically for our purposes, for a rhythm section player, it's an excellent tool for just getting used to playing in a rhythm section if you've never done it before and you have no one to play with. So you instantly have a pianist and a drummer in your pocket, which is very cool. So
Nice.
all the links are going to be available on our website, which brings us to how to get a hold of us. So we have a website. It's therhythmguys.com. And all the links you need to get to us are there. We'll probably have our personal social media there, but we also have accounts on Instagram and Twitter for the Rhythm Guys, and you can find those links all there. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can email us at info@therhythmguys.com, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Also, if you're watching the video, then you can comment on our YouTube. So hopefully by then those comments will be available to comment on, but you can also comment there, and we'll be happy to talk with you there. And like you said, if there's anything that we missed or any suggestions you have, we'd love to hear it. We would be happy to have your questions on anything that we didn't talk about today. Any other subject about rhythm section playing, any comments or questions, please send them to us. We are eventually going to have an episode where we take those into account and answer all those questions.
That's going to be cool.
So please send them.
Or comment if you like Isaac's hat.
Yeah, if you like his hat.
Or if you don't.
Or if you don't.
If you don't like his hat, tell him what he should be wearing.
Oh, man.
And he's a drummer, guys. So
Oh, man.
Right. So,
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll catch you around next time, and our next episode is going to be who's on our next episode? I'm trying to remember.
It's the discovering different grooves.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
we're going to talk
that's gonna
about
be
different
cool.
grooves, how to play with grooves. So that will be next week. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching.